I've just had 2 weeks off the bike, and I've always believed that if I took a break that long, it would be the kiss of death for my fitness. But what actually happened rather caught me off guard. The reason I've been off the bike is because I've just spent the last couple of weeks out in Canada. I was there with Diana, who's my other half, and her two sisters, and we were there visiting some relatives of theirs. We stayed in a place called Burlington, which is only about half an hour from Toronto, and try as I might, I did try to find a place to hire a bike, but the only ones available were things like commuter bikes and leisure bikes, and that wasn't really the sort of cycling that I wanted to do. Now, I did do one single bike ride while I was out in Canada. I met up with a very nice chap called Rick, who's a viewer of the channel, and he invited me to do a ride with him along the Niagara River from Fort Erie down to Fort Ontario in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And this involved Rick borrowing a bike off one of his friends to lend to me. The ride was absolutely incredible. There was some amazing scenery. We even passed by the world famous Niagara Falls, and it was one of these rides that I will never ever forget. So thank you, Rick, for doing that. Thank you to your friend for lending me the bike, and if you want to see that video, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. At the end of the first week, Di's sisters returned to the UK. Unfortunately, they had jobs to go to, but Di's a teacher, so she's on summer holiday at the moment. So we had a little bit of extra time to spend out there, and we'd always planned on doing a road trip. So our trip took us from Burlington to a place called Kingston, which is on Lake Ontario. I had my birthday there actually, and we had a very nice meal. We then drove to a place called Ganonque, where we did a cruise on the St. Lawrence River looking at the Thousand Islands. We then drove to Ottawa, had a look at the government buildings. We then went on to a place called Mont Tremblant, which in the winter I think is a ski resort, but in the summer it looked like it was a mountain bike resort as well. So although I saw loads of bikes and loads of people cycling, I even saw a place that I could hire a bike from. Unfortunately, I just didn't have enough time to be able to go out and do a ride. From there we then drove on to Montreal, and unfortunately for us, it was just at the end of Storm Debbie, so it was very wet and very windy, but we still managed to get to see a little bit of the old town. Then we did the long 7-hour drive back to Burlington to spend a day with Di's relatives before flying back to the UK ourselves. When we got back to the UK last week, as you can imagine, I was pretty tired, and it did take me a little while to get over the jet lag. But when I did go out for a ride, I did a quick ride on a route that I do here. It's 27 kilometers long with about 350 meters of climbing. And I was fairly surprised at how easy that felt. I didn't try and push it by any stretch of the imagination, and I could see that, or I could feel rather, that my legs were still pretty strong, but I could see that my heart rate was slightly elevated, and that's only to be expected after not cycling for a couple of weeks, but I'll soon get that back. But the real surprise for me came when I tried doing the next two rides. The first one was on a route that I normally do that's 25 kilometers long with about 300 meters of climbing. And when I try and push it a little bit, I can do this route in about 58 minutes. But on that particular evening, I just went out and just did a ride. I wasn't trying to push it or anything, and I managed to do it in 57 minutes. So the very next night I went out and I tried to push it a little bit harder just to see what I could do. And I managed to do it in 56 minutes and 16 seconds. And that's one of the fastest times I've ever done that route. And that really was without pushing myself too hard. Now, as you can imagine, going away anywhere for 2 weeks, particularly somewhere like Canada, where the food and drink is absolutely fantastic, you are going to put on a few kilos, and indeed that's exactly what I did. But as I saw with the rides that I did, it didn't really affect my cycling all that much. And the only explanation that I can offer is that I was doing a lot of walking. According to the Steps app on my phone, I was doing between 15 and 20,000 steps a day, and that must have just ticked my fitness over. Now normally I wouldn't be too overly worried about losing a little bit of fitness and then having to regain it all again over the next coming weeks, but I do have another cycling trip coming up. On the 19th of September I'll be down in the south of France with my friends Chris and Vicky at the Pyrenees.cc, and we'll be doing a bike packing trip. Now we'll be leaving their farmhouse near a place called Amélie-les-Bains, and we'll be cycling to the cycling mecca of Girona on the Costa Brava in Spain. And of course that means that we're going to do one of the coolest things that I think you can do on a bike, and that's cross an international border. Over the course of the 5 days we will be cycling around about 250 kilometers, and we'll be climbing around about 2,000 meters. So it's not going to be super easy, but it's not going to be mega hard either. I'll be doing this ride with some friends of mine, but there are 2 spaces available. So if you would like to join us, I'll leave a link to Chris and Vicky's website in the description below. And then all you'll need to do is get yourself to either Barcelona or Perpignan airport, and then everything else is taken care of. The transfers are included, all the breakfasts are included, all of the evening meals are included, and because we're not cavemen and we're not camping, all of the hotels are included as well. And we'll also be having our luggage moved from place to place as well, so we don't have to worry about lugging all of that with us. We can just concentrate and enjoy the ride. I've been cycling down at Chris and Vicky's place for quite a few times now, and the cycling down there is absolutely fantastic. The roads are incredible, the scenery is amazing, and as you can imagine, being France and Catalonia and northern Spain, the food is excellent as well. So I've always had an amazing time when I've been down there, and I'm really looking forward to doing this trip in the next couple of weeks or so, and hopefully I'll see you down there as well. So there we go, that's what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. Clearly I will have a little bit of work to do before I'm completely fit for the bike packing trip, so wish me luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.